Hi there, welcome back to another Dave's Desk as we look at Bible basics. Today we're going to look at the book of Joshua. So Joshua is sort of the first book outside of the Pentateuch that we were looking at in the last 5 videos, probably compiled during the time of the kings from first-hand accounts. That's how it presents itself. And it picks up the story of God's people just where Deuteronomy leaves them. The people of God are just on the far side of the River Jordan, and he's just about to bring them across the river on dry land. He does the whole stopping the water thing again, and they come through on dry land. And what follows through the book of Joshua is the people of God taking possession of the land, which means years of war and conflict, all of which seems fairly un-Christian, quite violent, and lots of people being killed. And we can struggle with that, and it's quite a complex challenge, and it's worth spending some time wrestling with. But for me, essentially, it comes down to this idea of God's judgment being always present. That we're waiting for the end of the world. If you're joining us on Sundays as we look at Revelation, when God's judgment will come fully. But in the book of Judges, we see the beginning of God's judgment breaking into the world. So you have on the land that God has promised is God's land because he made it, so it's his. And there are people there who oppose him. They worship other things they call God. They turn to other places for good things, and so they're in complete opposition to God. And he wants this land for his people. And so in holding the land against him, the Canaanites, they're opposing his will. And so God is going to take possession of the land for his people so that he can reveal himself more fully to the world. And he doesn't allow his people to plunder the nations that are already there. Everything they gain has to be given back to him in worship and for worship. And so it's this image of God taking what's his, and the people of God are only allowed to remain there for as long as they use the land for him, and as long as they honour him with the land that he's sort of given them as a place of rest. And we'll see more of that story unfolding as we go through the books of the Bible. And it reminds me that we really need to take seriously this challenge of, do we hold on to the material things we have as our own, or do we understand that they are all gifts from God, that we need to be wise in how we steward them and honourable in what we do with them. Probably the best example of something of that story is one of the early stories, the story of Rahab, who is living in Jericho. She's not part of the people of God, but she's heard what God has done through his people. She's heard what God is like. And so she essentially betrays her city in order to surrender herself to God, and God honours her, and she has a place of honour because she was willing to turn to God. And that's something we all have that opportunity, either to hold on to things or to surrender to God and receive rescue from him. Hope that's given you something to think about. Thank you for joining us again. Hope to see you soon. Goodbye.